everyone, welcome to today's episode of Show Me How It's Done. Today I want to show you how to make a magic card. So this card was inspired by Tami White, who made and designed this gorgeous card with the Fine Art Floral Acetate and Designer Series paper. So you can find the directions for this card on her blog, and she also did one in Pretty Peacock, I believe, with the other patterns of the paper in the set. So it's a super cute card, and I knew I had to play with it. So today I want to show you how to use a different sort of look. So we're going to use the ovals, and we are using one of the patterns of the acetate from the Fine Art Floral. However, we're going to pull in some of the paper from the Forever Greenery suite. So it's just mixing it up a little bit and showing you how you can use the papers that are meant to match up with each other for this card. Or you can also find a pattern that's really subtle and place it underneath the acetate from the patterns as well. So let's get going. I'm going to just move this one out of the way. And we're going to learn how to make this little guy here, okay? So to start with, you'll need a piece of Pretty Peacock cardstock. And I'm really sad because this guy's going right away, but stock up if you need some. So this page measures 4.5 by 8.5. On your scoreboard, you're going to put marks at 2 3/4 and 5 3/4. And then we're going to turn it 90 degrees. So the skinny side now is up at the top. And we're going to put a little score mark at 4 1/4. Okay. So your paper should look about even. You've got the lines here at 2 3/4, 5 3/4, and flipped at 4 1/4. Okay. So you don't need your scoreboard anymore, but you might as well get the rest of your pieces of paper cut while your trimmer is probably out to do this one. So we're going to need another piece of Pretty Peacock. This one is going to measure 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then you're going to need 2 sheets that are the same size. So one is the acetate and one is the designer series paper that you want to use. These guys are both measuring 2 3/4 by 4. Okay, so you can just have those ready to go. And we're going to do a little bit of cutting on this one with our big boss. So grab that guy here. And so on your paper here, I would flip it over so the lines that you've scored, we're going to turn it over so they're raised. We need to cut out a little window in the front here. So what I chose to use are my stitched ovals from the Stitched Shapes dies. So I took the 2 largest ones from that set. We are not using the largest at the moment. That is going to be used for our frame. You're going to use the smaller of the 2. So this would be the second largest in the set. This is the one that you're going to want to set right in your middle panel here. And then you also want a little lip for people to be able to reach in and pull your tab out from. So I'm going to use the smallest stitched circle from that same die set, and I'm resting that right at the top. So my oval should be in about the middle space after you've taken away a bit of the top. Okay, so I don't know if that's going to refocus for you. Might focus on this thing. Okay, so middle panel, oval roughly in the center, with only like a snapshot of that circle actually being taken off. Less than half. Okay, if you're really unsure about this moving, you can put some washi tape across it and hold those pieces in place. But hopefully once we get this in, we should be okay. Sorry, I'm trying not to move the table as much on you guys. All right, so what you are left with here is an oval that we're not actually going to use. You can set it aside and use it for something else. And a piece of paper that should have an oval cut out of it, the smallest one, and a little kind of quarter of this circle here. Okay, so while you have the cutting plates on, we're going to cut ourselves a little label for the front of the card here. And this is from the art gallery bundle here. If you look at the dies, they have a couple really cute kind of sentiment labels. So we're cutting out the largest one here. And I've actually already done that. So you'll need to do that just in gold foil. Okay, so you can do that in gold foil at the same time that you're going to do this next oval, and this is the window. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make this window here. You will need both of the oval dies that we had taken out, so the largest one and the second largest. Put them onto your gold foil, one inside the other, and they should be hopefully about even. Okay, you don't want one of these butted up to the top and lots of space on the bottom, because we want a really even frame all the way around. Okay, so nicely in the center. You can at the same time be cutting out this label as well. Okay, so put your things back on top there. There we go. All right, I don't usually cut sideways like this. It's very weird. All right, and you'll need to keep your big boss in front of you for one last job here, but don't need that, it's garbage. Once you take off the oval pieces, you should have a nice frame, and then you'll also have an oval center here that you can use for another project. Okay. So here's your frame. We're going to use that later, but we do need to do one more job with this big boss while he's out. You'll need to take off the number 2 and one of your clear plate platforms. All you're going to need for this is number 1, because we're doing a 3D embossing folder, which has, of course, its own lovely plate to use. Okay, so I'm going to use the Painted Texture 3D embossing folder. The key for this is just to make sure you have 2 full sections inside your embossing folder. So make sure the middle one is getting patterned and one of these sides. Do not worry about the other one, because we're just going to fold it over and nobody will know the difference. Okay, so just make sure that those panels are getting embossed, and don't stress if these little rectangles on the bottom are outside of your window as well. Okay, so we're going to put this onto plate number 1, and then using your 3D plate, which also is gray now in the next catalog, you can just roll this through. And then you should be able to get rid of this for now. Okay, so here is what you are left with. You have embossed your middle section and your right hand side, and you have a plain side on the other here. So we're going to grab our bone folder and start folding on these lines, so you get nice crisp lines for your project. And you'll notice that these flaps don't actually go all the way to the end. That's okay. I think that was done on purpose just to make sure we didn't end up bumping into them as we're working. So it's actually kind of nice not to have to worry about having those exactly lined up. When you're folding this bottom piece, just be very, very careful, because it's very tiny and somewhat unforgiving. So just go slowly, make sure it's all raised up. If you really want to, you can always just come to the front and fold it over from here. Sometimes I find I can get a nice crisp line if I'm just doing this first and then taking my bone folder and running it all the way across the front. It's typically not what I do, but for these little tiny finicky pieces, it might be your best bet. Okay, so some scissors would be your next task. We're going to actually keep this middle small rectangle, but we're going to get rid of the two on the right and the left-hand side. Okay, so if you are more comfortable, you can grab a trimmer for this job, but I think just a little pair of snips is easy enough. So we're going to completely take out this little rectangle section on the bottom. Okay, this guy, gone. And then we're going to take out the one on the opposite side as well. Do not cut through the middle one because we need that one. Okay, so there we go. So we've got a nice little tab down at the bottom here. This is now where we're going to take that piece of Pretty Peacock cardstock that I suggested you cut ahead of time. That was the 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And we're just going to attach this with a little bit of glue or tape onto this tiny little tab down at the bottom here. Okay, so you'll notice that the paper is slightly smaller than your tab and the space that it's going into. Just make sure it goes in the middle of your space here, okay? So the intent with this is that it's actually able to just kind of come flip up and hide behind this oval. So it doesn't need to be exactly the same size, because once again, we just want to make sure it's not miscut and bumping into the sides. So I think it's actually just brilliant that it's cut slightly smaller than what we need, okay? So here's the fun part. We're going to flip this panel up so that it's now resting behind our oval. And then you're going to find the flap that was not embossed. This is going to be the first one that you just lay down. Do not put any glue in here because this is the feature that we're going to use actually when we make the magic card. One of our papers is going to rest in front of the panel and one of them is going to rest behind like this, so that when we pull it up, that panel is guiding the kind of secret reveal. Okay, so make sure you do not put any adhesive here. We're folding this panel over right now and we're putting adhesive on this piece. Okay, so it doesn't have to be excessive, and honestly sometimes the easiest thing you can do is just throw a block on there so you can actually work. But I like to just throw a piece on the bottom here, piece on the top, and I'm going to put some on this inside flap here, okay? Just make sure it's on the panel, not on any of the background. Okay, so you can see I've put 3 pieces. I've not put any on this side because if you'll remember, our pieces didn't actually quite line up. So I don't want my adhesive showing through in this section. So to make sure this piece still lies down, I'm putting the adhesive on the patterned piece. Okay, so yours might be opposite. You might have embossed the other ways, and just make sure that you're laying them down in the order I suggested. So non-patterned emboss or adhesives, and then put the embossed one over top. So we've made a little cute pouch at this point, and now we need to decorate it and add our secret panel. Okay, so let's grab those 2 pieces of acetate and cardstock, and DSP. They're the same size, 2 3/4 by 4, and we're going to also use that small circle once more and just cut ourselves a circle of just jade. Okay, this guy is going to get folded in half like so. Use your bone folder if you want a nice crisp edge, and then you're going to put this over top of the pieces together as close to the center of the top as you can, okay? So you've got one side there, one side there. Now you'll need a hole punch. Mine is very scary looking. This was a eyelet tool that we had years ago. It's called a crocodile. Just any hole punch will do, okay? But you're just gonna punch a hole right in the middle there. And using a little ribbon, any sort that you have, I'm using the gold shimmer ribbon. Probably just need about 4 inches to make this comfortable. So your ribbon, you'll need to fold in half so that on one side you have kind of a loop and the other side you have 2 little tails. The loop is what we're going to take and push through the front of our hole here. So now what you should have is your loop on the back side and your 2 little tails on the front. You're going to take these tails, lift them up and over the top of the card, and put them through the loop. Okay. And then when you pull them up, your loop will tighten downwards and you'll have 2 cute little tags up at the top. So you can trim them if you want, a nice little angle or something. I like to just do a diagonal, but leave as much room as you can so that somebody can pull up on this tab. Go. Okay, so cute little topper here. Now to get this inside your card, remember how I mentioned this little flappy piece in here is going to be your barrier. So you'll actually separate these 2 with your fingers and make sure your designer series paper goes behind that piece and your acetate goes in front of it. Okay, so just separate that, and as you're pushing it in, you should have your acetate in front of the piece and your DSP behind. Don't worry if you've messed up, then you just pull it all out and try again. So what you should see in the front here is just the gold, and then if you were to peek in the back, you do have your DSP right here, okay? So that when you pull up, it starts to peek out together, okay? And if you accidentally pull it all the way out, you'll just have to reinsert it. So 1 in front, 1 behind, and that's okay. Okay, push that down. And here's our little pouch. To decorate, we're going to come back to this oval here. Now usually I would use my Tombow glue to attach this, but I think I need to clean the tip of it still. Don't know if it's going to work for me, but we can try. If not, I might just use a couple glue dots to get this on instead. And yeah, I have to clean this out. So I'd suggest if you have glue, that's great. If not, grab a couple glue dots and just put them kind of around the perimeter here if you can. Then this will go over that original oval that you have already cut out. Like so. So it's super cute like this, but I thought it would be really fun to add a sentiment just to kind of bring out the gold a little bit more. So I'm going to grab my gold embossing powder and a stamp set. You can grab anything you want. The one that I chose was from the art gallery set here, this happy birthday. But there's also a lot of very basic sentiments that could also go on here as well. Like, actually, maybe let's try You're Lovely. We'll just do something different. Had that one all set, but let's do a different one. You are lovely. Okay, so I'm going to grab my Versamark. That's our sticky ink. Tap, tap, tap in there. And then straight down onto my little tag here. Now you have to work quickly because your Versamark will dry. So you're going to grab your gold embossing powder. I like to use some sort of a tray to sprinkle that over top so I don't make a mess of my workspace. And then I just tap, tap, tap on the back. If you had any flecks somewhere, you can also grab a makeup brush and just brush it off gently. But you should be pretty good to go. With your heat tool, just keep in mind that the foil will curl really easily, and don't stress out about that. You can always grab your bone folder afterwards and we can straighten it out, or you can grab heavy things like some blocks or something right away once you've heated it and just flatten it since it's hot and malleable. But we're going to turn this on. As soon as you see it start turning shiny, you're going to move on to the next part. Don't stay on it. Okay, so very, very quick and easy. And you did see this turned into a bridge right away. Now you can't put something on right away because this would be really sticky, but after about 2 seconds, it's good. So you can either leave something heavy on it and just come back to it later, or my quick and dirty trick is just to grab my bone folder and just gently kind of bend that back so that I've got a nice straight tag once more. Okay, so to put this on the front of my card, I did want it up on dimensionals, but I didn't trust my judgment on putting dimensionals on the back of this piece and not accidentally hitting the card. So I'm just going to put my dimensionals straight onto this frame, kind of side by side. And then when I put this tag across, I'll make sure that none of them are resting on my acetate instead. Okay. There we go. Very, very cute. Once it's up in your face, you can definitely read the sentiment. If you wanted to add something more to this card, you certainly could grab a flower, or I'd suggest heading to the Forever Fern stamp set and dies and maybe just grabbing one of these little tiny leaves, and you could always add that, you know, to the side. You could stamp it in Pretty Peacock or something like that, but I just kind of wanted to go for a very simple look and let my acetate actually just speak for itself, because I'm very tempted sometimes to put a nice big flower or something here, and then I wonder if people would actually notice the full beauty of the acetate in the background. So really, really fun card, very easy for you to sit here and make, and I hope that you have a lot of fun recreating these for yourselves. Talk to you guys later. Bye.